think we've too long watched these movies and shows that would give us the impression that the funniest, most attractive guy in the room who's very aggressive is going to be able to sort of bulldoze their way through any objection and get a decision done right there. And what I've found as a guy who, routinely looked over 15,000 agents' shoulders around the world on 320 go-to-markets a day in my role at Accenture is that those aren't the real superpowers that the top real ninja level sellers have. The top sellers that I've ever seen and that I've had the privilege of working with on large deals are characterized across the board by insatiable curiosity, generosity in their collaboration, and tireless advocacy for the customers themselves. This is what allows them to make it outside in, to Martyn's point. They get into the buyer's shoes, figure out what needs to be done for that. Now, I made this point a little bit before. Let me make it even stronger. The most important seller in a deal is not the salesperson. It is the champion on the customer side. They're the ones doing all the selling. They have to make it through all these gates. They have to convince gatekeepers on their side. The seller will never even get a chance to talk to those folks. I'll tell you a story from early in my time at N3. I was chasing a very large deal with a household name technology company. And we got to a place very quickly where we realized we had something big on our hands. And my champion on the other side realized that his particular political standing and the ability to move things through the gates in the company wasn't as strong as a friend of his, who was actually in a totally different department, but who had the right political skills and hygiene and organization to make it through gates quickly. And we knew we had a clock on us. And so what he did was he paired us off, and we would do 2 daily calls every day. We would talk through in the morning what meetings were coming up, and then in the afternoon what had happened and what was ready the next day. And all the way through, my job was essentially to be his caddy, to come in, get him the right club at the right time, and talk through the direction. And that meant sometimes building PowerPoint slides, sometimes it meant tweaking an Excel model, sometimes it meant tweaking a Word document. In the end, I attended maybe 10% of the total meetings that occurred in getting this deal over the line, and about a fifth of the negotiations. And through that process, we went through 14 different gatekeepers over 3 weeks for a $32 million deal involving 275 agents launching simultaneously in 5 major regions and 12 languages around the world. We did this in 3 weeks. And in that process, we had to negotiate with the global C-suite members, all of their power dynamics, all their content needs, all their sacred cows, and what their motivating factors were. And if I hadn't had that co-pilot sitting within that organization doing the selling for me, and if I hadn't done a great job assisting him, we never would have made it to the end. The other interesting thing about that deal, which is vital, I think, for today's world post-COVID, is that deal was a purely inside sales deal. I had literally never met any of the players involved when we got the first call, and I never met them before the contract was signed, exactly 5 weeks after the first call for $32 million. I didn't need to, because I had the right partnership inside that we could do things virtually. And if I got them the right things at the right time, things moved along. Now that in those days took a lot of manual effort on my part, right? I was doing things at all hours of the day and night. The good news is that in the age of AI, a lot more assistance is provided to produce those types of things as long as you're paying attention. You have to have a discipline about this. At Augment, we call this total listening. Our construct is effectively that we need to be paying attention at all times to both the stakeholders we get access to and what is said about the other stakeholders, so that we can provide them with the right assistance to get through their learning gates all the way through. Again, it's not about a transaction, no matter how big. $32 million is a wonderful win. Anyone would agree, particularly for an inside deal. But that was really just a proof of concept to build a much larger relationship. And every deal is. Your real goal in the end is the durable relationship between the parties. And you don't get there unless you take on their own needs and priorities all the way through. So I think in the age of AI, we're at a place where you actually can get assistance to be the caddy for your partner on the deal and all of their stakeholders. You just have to forget the myopic commitment to just managing the sales cycle and move past that into the buyer's journey and the decision process. That's the essential urgent construct.
Got it.